But to go to one ball game and to see Jackie Robinson play, immediately when you saw him, he became the most exciting and the most interesting player that you had ever seen and became everybody's favorite player.
Every baseball fan knows the story of Jack Roosevelt Robinson, a man who represented a significant shift in the American paradigm. Hand chosen by Brooklyn Dodger owner Branch Rickey, Jackie made his debut on April 15, 1947, and changed baseball and U.S. history. The first African American to play in the modern major leagues, Jackie had centuries of bigotry and hatred to overcome.
The owners frowned upon it. There was an unwritten rule that, no black players. But like I said, Branch Rickey didn't care what color the skin was, as long as the player can help him win a pennant and eventually a World Series.
See Jackie Robinson hit that ball. It went zooming across the left field wall. Yeah, boy.
It was so much fun to watch that as soon as you went to a game, you became enamored by this guy, and it was never any player in the history of baseball, and I've been a fan and sports writer in baseball going on 60 years now, and there's never been a player that caused so much excitement in a ballpark as Jackie Robinson did.
Despite Robinson's flair and style, the process of reversing the ill-conceived ideals of Americans would be a long and arduous one. However, Jackie found himself in Brooklyn, on the legendary Dodgers, in front of hometown fans to whom baseball was religion.
I think the simple reason was he wore the uniform that said Dodgers. And in Brooklyn, people didn't care what a guy looked like, what his background was, what his religion, his race, or anything. If he wore that uniform, he was one of us.
But outside of Brooklyn, teams and fans were not nearly as inviting. However, on May 13, 1947 in Cincinnati, Jackie would not stand alone. As depicted by the statue that stands outside of Keyspan Park, Cincinnati and the baseball world were shown that ballplayers, both white and black, could stand together as one thing: teammates.
The stands in Cincinnati began to yell, the Reds began to yell, and just violent abuse. Reese at shortstop raised his hand, stopped the infield practice, walked across the infield, did not say a word, put his arm around Jackie Robinson and stood there and gazed at the hate, the seas of hate, and he shamed them into silence. And what Jackie would say about that later, when we become close friends, was, after that moment, I never again felt alone on a baseball field.
Robinson would go on to a Hall of Fame career, winning Rookie of the Year in 1947 and the National League Most Valuable Player Award in 1949. He was a world champion, a pioneer, and a humanitarian. But it all might never have happened, if not for a silent yet symbolic gesture on a May night in Cincinnati.
That moment, Reese with Robinson, I think that's the greatest moment in sports.